People who never found the one, what is your life like now? 52 here, single for the last 30 years, married young, had a kid, wife was 13 years older than me, left me for someone her own age who made lots of money. Would do it all over again in a heartbeat, love my kid, love my ex and her husband, but to the question what it's like, it's great. I worry about myself and only myself. I have a nice house, an interesting job, and the ability to devote myself fully to my hobbies, theater and music. I make my own schedule, play video games to completion if I want, write songs, and am able to devote a lot of time to things that interest me. Everything in the house is where I left it. I do have a dog who is, I am convinced, the best dog ever. There are some downsides. I have to work to get intimate, but NSA is fine for me. I have to do all the chores and deal with feeding myself. It is often assumed, since I am single, that I have more availability than others for pretty much anything. Sometimes I envy my partnered friends, but this passes quickly when I realize that no one is whining at me to do something or be different. It might have made me a little bit selfish, but probably not. I help out friends a lot. I can. I worry about passing away alone sometimes too, but in the end, we all do. What makes it work is to get out of the house and be responsible for making things happen. In my case, this is theater, but it can be any social situation. I meet a lot of folks and commit to a lot of things, too many sometimes, but it helps me to appreciate the occasional quiet evenings at home streaming something on Netflix. I cannot stand the idea of becoming the kind of person whose normal evening consists of deciding what to watch on TV. For me, it's a treat. I overcommit and am tired a lot. Conversely, I think I accomplished a lot too. Am I sometimes lonely? Yep. Holidays used to be hard, especially when my kid was younger. But now, because I am lucky, we do holidays together. I have a lot of other friends, some single, others married, and have a quite nice extended family. Biggest downside? When I scream, "Make me a sandwich," I have to then get up and make it. I still end up with one though. Alright, nice. So, the theme of the stories sound quite sad, but this first story shows we can find a silver lining somewhere. Let's see how the others turn out. This is story 2. I am 51, male, and living by myself. It seems that every time I have tried to find the right one, things always turned awry. Either I had flaws, or she or they did. I am handicapped by the fact that I chose to spend a great deal of my life taking care of my old, sick mom. Apparently, or perhaps obviously, that sort of makes me a pariah in terms of living with someone because it spells mother issues. And I won't deny that I do have issues. In terms of the woman I have chosen to date and subsequently live with, have in a sense been wrong for me. Wrong because I chose them for my low standards originating from a very low self-esteem. So at the moment I am living alone, I came to the conclusion that perhaps that is my destiny in life. Even though it may seem lonely, as it did for me in the beginning, there are some perks. I don't have to answer to anyone, I can do what I like, I never have to worry about living up to someone's idea of standards. If I choose to spend the entire day watching YouTube and doing coding, it is my choice and no one else's business, so there it is. Story 3. Not an old-timer yet, but getting there. My only 2 long-term relationships were in early college. In the rest of college, I either dated people for a few weeks, or had casuals, or had an FWB. After graduating from college, living in the fake real world, and then going to grad school, I haven't been nearly as successful in dating. Most of the women I meet want more instant commitment or want other things or are ready to settle down, etc. Furthermore, it's a lot harder to meet as many people, let alone as many interesting people. Post-college, so many people, quite honestly, just became freaking boring on every level. They don't say interesting things, aren't as open-minded, are more subdued, don't do as many fun things, have more bland day-to-day concerns, etc. The same people who in college were thinkers and artists, dancers and singers, philosophers and activists, filmmakers and public speakers slowly became so boring. And even if they do traditionally fun young people things like going clubbing or drinking, I find it's a lot more awkward. Those things were more fun when you were in college and basically living among other young 20-somethings that you liked. When you're older, those activities just seem kind of weird, like you just shoved a bunch of people with whom you probably have too little in common with into a room and told them to flail their bodies and take substances. I honestly kind of like being able to be alone. I would rather be by myself than with people that do not stimulate me, which is most people. Every now and then I meet a girl that I find interesting and it either goes somewhere briefly or goes nowhere or becomes quote unquote ambiguous. I'm honestly quite fine with that until I find someone I really want to pin down and have a family with, but that is not going to be anytime soon, and if that time never comes, is there really something wrong with that? When I was a kid and I used to watch Mr. Bean, I would think, wow, that guy may be a loser according to my parents, but really? I think he has it all: a nice job, a nice car, an apartment, a life where he goes on very small but still very silly adventures. So, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being minimal and by yourself? People come and go, and I don't think I should ever feel ashamed into being stuck with one unless I want to. Oh, for sure, totally. Being older now, Mr. Bean had it all figured out all along. Him and his Teddy and their blissfully ignorant setup, living it up alone in his own happy home. Story 4. I'm 40 years old and single. I've never had an intimate relationship. I was a typical nice guy throughout high school and college. For years after, I was very bitter and invariably looked outside of myself to assign the blame. I was a continual pity party. During a year spent driving tractor trailers across the country, I learned that I am the source of all my problems. It was always me keeping me single and miserable. I was a very crappy person. And realizing that, I changed my attitude. I stopped blaming others for my personal flaws, and I own my misery. After some deep, solitary soul searching on the ice choked highways of the nation last winter, I came back home to care for my sick mother. I've decided that the experiential payload of my messed up life is more than I would ever dare to inflict on another person. I am so completely ill equipped to be in any sort of intimate relationship. I have a couple of good friends, a family I love deeply, and plenty of acquaintances and work associates I appreciate. It is enough for me. I am now happily single and plan on staying that way. I own my own home and have my mother living with me. I have a simple, humble job driving school buses, and I'm a volunteer firefighter. I like to camp with my brother and his kids, just bought a kayak, and this summer I'm taking my mother to fill a bit of her bucket list. Acadia National Park, here we come. Story 5. I'm 39 and turned 40 on the 9th. Never married, no kids. The job is great. I've been with Riot Games for 7 years. I just bought a second house, adopted a cat 12 years ago who thinks he is a dog and is very awesome. He should have passed last year but got lucky with an early diagnosis. As you can tell, given my single life, he's more important than others may think appropriate. I fill my free time with exercise like running, the beach, and biking. Most importantly, video games, which is as awesome as a 14-year-old would expect it to be. With this much disposable income, I play everything, volunteering in the Big Brother program 6 years now. I appreciate this a lot. It's a strange kind of friendship but wholly rewarding, and I sit on the board of a nonprofit here in LA helping the homeless. I use the work and volunteering to help forget how lonely I am, and it works. I try various dating sites and date occasionally, still looking. There are 2 moments that I look back on and regret. One where I didn't let myself love and wished I had, and the other where I forgot who I was and was left. I'd recommend it if you have someone you're not sure about, moving on. But if you have someone who stirs your emotions until they are scary, let go of fear right now and love. And I secretly covet caring for a dog, so get one of those too if you can, 40 pounds or bigger. Sorry, Loki. Story 6. I probably don't count as old, I just turned 30, but I am a bachelorette who doesn't believe in the one, and I honestly really like my life. I like getting to decorate my apartment as girly as I want it, and it's always a peaceful little retreat to come home to after work. I have fewer things to balance and can focus more on work, or the gym, or whatever hobby I'm into at the moment. I grew up in a pretty emotionally volatile household, so I'd rather be really selective about who I date and let into my life than have a new boyfriend every month and always be caught up in breakups and the dating scene, which I find pretty exhausting. I expect the dating scene in my 30s to be a little less volatile and don't feel that I missed out on dating more in my 20s anyways. I have fur babies, and if ever I don't have kids, I don't think it'll be a big deal. I'm into rescuing and spoiling dogs and cats anyways, and I love them to bits. I've dated a lot of nice guys and at one point lived with a long-term boyfriend, but I really enjoy my independence and solitude, and I'm not willing to give that up for just anyone. The cons are that there are a lot of activities built for 2 people. I feel a little like I'm not a real person yet when my friends and coworkers talk about marriage and kids, and not having someone to split the bills with or help take care of you when you're sick can be very difficult. But overall, I'm really happy with my life, and I don't feel bad about being single until other people make me feel bad about it. It's only when we compare ourselves to others that we do begin to question our choices. At least those are my 2 cents. And hey, since you're already halfway through the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any more of my upcoming videos, and so I can spend more time making even more of them for you. Let's go on to the next story. Story 7. I'm only 30, but over the past 8 years, my views on relationships have changed significantly. At 22, my college girlfriend of 3.5 years broke up with me, totally unexpectedly. I thought we were going to get married, and I thought I had my life planned out. It was very devastating, and I thought about her nonstop for 3 years afterwards, but had little contact. At 26, I met somebody that finally took my mind off of my college girlfriend. She was beautiful, caring, outgoing, the whole package. Again, I would have married her, but we had enough differences, and after 2+ years of a relationship, she told me that she didn't want to be together. I was pretty hurt again, but much less than the first one, even though girlfriend number 2 was probably the better catch. A couple of months after the second breakup, I sort of came to this realization that both my exes did me a huge favor. If they had just settled for me, both of our lives would have been a struggle. I have since started my own company, which I was hesitant to do before, have taken up art projects, I am in better shape than ever before, and I am totally stimulated in my work. I honestly am happier than I have ever been. I date from time to time, but I think there's a 50% chance that I don't ever get married. So the conclusion I have to this is that, yeah, at times it is lonely to be single and I daydream about finding the one, but I know for certain that if things had worked out in past relationships, I would have never experienced so many other great things. I would rather be the person that I am now than the person I might have become. Story 8. I'll be 40 next year and I have a 17-year-old son. I got married at 20 and divorced at 27. I had one relationship after my divorce that lasted a little over a year. I casually dated from 2016 through 2022 or so, but have not been on a date since then, nor have I been intimate with anyone. No one has told me they loved me in a romantic sense since early 2016, so about over 8 years ago. I'm fairly attractive, but a bit overweight, working on it. I have a great job, own my own home, I'm intelligent, and have a wonderful social network. The knowledge that a relationship isn't part of my life causes occasional sadness, but for the most part, I'm okay with it. I don't have to take anyone else's opinion into account when I make decisions about my life, my home, or what I want to do on a Saturday night. I don't actively seek relationships, but wouldn't turn away an opportunity if one presented itself. I think that my age and attitude have brought me comfort and security in the knowledge that I don't necessarily need a man in my life to have it be complete. I have a great life. That said, I know that a solid romantic partnership would add a level of happiness and stability that I do honestly miss from time to time. There is a big difference between being alone and being lonely. Most of the time, I'm alone and that's okay. Sometimes I'm lonely and that hurts. So this is the key takeaway for me from all of these stories, that there is a difference between being alone and being lonely. I'm okay too with being alone. Story 9. The one is a redundant, dishonest concept sold to us by the media. You don't find someone magically compatible with that'll be your true love for all eternity. You find someone you have an attraction to and common ground. You fight, you bicker, you set boundaries, and you grow together and build your relationship until it is an insurmountable tower of positive memories and shared experience. You know what I thankfully learned early on? That to love someone is relatively easy. To have a happy and healthy relationship through all the turmoil that is life, well, yeah, that's the hard part. If you let yourself, you'll fall in love many, many times in your life, and that love is not depreciated by the fact that it's been explored or shared. Love isn't finite. It's the growth of affection and understanding connecting two people in delightful and slightly inconvenient ways. Story 10. It's pretty normal, I guess, though I notice how I'm quite a bit more free than others who have to take time out of their day to hang out with their SO. I'm sure they enjoy it, but it does prevent them from doing other things that may be important too, like I can put a lot of time into hobbies and into learning for university or improving myself. Also, as an outsider to the relationship stuff, some of it seems like madness, like these whole mind games about acting hard to get and all. Plus, I very often see people be miserable in relationships, yet they're totally into them and are blind about the obvious problems that may exist. Though on the downside, it sometimes is a bit difficult to stay motivated to do something if at the end you're the only judge of it, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's super important to be happy with yourself, but if you have nobody but yourself to impress, then it's a recipe for getting lazy. Also, your mindset kind of changes after a very long time. You kind of become jaded to the whole thing and stop caring. I mean, I still find some women beautiful or cute, but there isn't much beyond that in terms of relationships. I didn't have a crush, let alone be in love, in nearly a decade now. The one does not exist. People are lonely just enough to stay with the one they are with now because they're afraid to be alone themselves. The truth is, we are born in this world alone and pass in this world alone no matter how many friends or loved ones you think you have. And after you are gone and everyone you know is gone, it will be as if you never even existed in the first place. Story 11. Some thoughts on this as it's been on my mind lately. I'm 37, never married, not over the hill, but getting to the point of wondering if I'm going to find a life partner. Sometimes I think I'd be happier alone. I wonder how much my desire for a partner is societal pressure versus a natural inner drive. Probably some of both. I'm happiest when I'm not worrying about finding someone. I have total independence and control over how I spend my time. I'm not responsible for another person's needs. I've had far more time in my life than others my age to meet, date, sleep with, and intimately know a variety of people. I've also had time to think, to feel, and really delve into and understand myself on a deeper level. I learned by being with others, but I also learned by being alone. I think both have been highly necessary, at least for me. You find purpose in life of solitude. Once you come to terms with the reasons why you're single, you find peace in it, and it's liberating, really. I'm at a point in my life where I can go anywhere, do anything, talk to anyone, however I like. I love who I am because there's no one else like me, and what I provide for people is as unique as me. It's taken me until now to realize that I lose myself in relationships. By default, I throw myself into meeting every need of a partner instead of my own. And with this knowledge and a growing understanding of my own needs, I'm maybe finally heading towards being genuinely ready for a long-term, even lifelong partnership. It'll still take a lot of practice, though. Y'all remember that line from the movie Jerry Maguire, the whole "you complete me" thing? I wonder what that feels like to be moved to say those words to someone else? Story 12. I'm 50, never married. It's not because I couldn't have. I'm fairly smart, moderately good looking, and have a decent job and relationship skills. I have been in several long-term relationships, around 5 years, but it just never worked out that way for one reason or another. There are times I regret not marrying when I was younger, even if it didn't last because then I would have children, but honestly, it is not something I agonize over. It is just the way things worked out, and I'm fine with it. I have many friends and belong to several meetup groups, so I don't lack for social opportunities and still casually date every now and then. Here are some of the advantages I've noticed about being a middle-aged single person. I don't have to consult with anyone to do something spontaneous. Someone wants to go kayaking or camping on the spur of the moment, no problem. I decide I want to go see a show or something, I just get up and leave the house with no discussion. Sure, in a healthy relationship, you can still do those kinds of things, but sometimes it is a negotiation. It may not be a big deal, but it is kind of nice not having to deal with that. My disposable income is always spent on what I want it to be spent on, and I don't have to split it with a significant other. It is probably obvious that when I watch TV or a movie at home, it is always what I want to watch, but another part of that is that I often watch half a movie, do something else for a while, and come back to watch it later or even sometimes the next day. When you're watching with someone else, you can't do that without their agreement. For big life decisions, where to live, whether to change jobs, big purchases, I don't have to take someone else's thoughts and feelings into account. It gives a certain freedom to control one's own destiny in a way you don't get when you are in a serious relationship. The bottom line is that I am truly satisfied with the way things are. I have my life set up the way I want and have an active social life. Which is not to say that I am anti-relationship. I like being part of a couple, and if the opportunity arises to get with someone I like that also has well-developed relationship skills, I wouldn't hesitate to go down that road, but I am perfectly content if that doesn't happen as well. But then again, I have always been an independent person who marched to the beat of my owner's drummer. It may not be for everyone, but for some people, it's not a bad thing. Alright, so if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video, and thanks for watching this one.